My name is Darling Nikki. Thank you so much for listening, and let's get into it. This video is about all the ways that a man shows that they are jealous of you, that they want to do what a lot of people are called destiny swapping with you. Yes, men will try to do this as well. All the ways that they will try to humble you because they are jealous of you, and they need to find some way to bring you down to their level so that they feel more comfortable being with you. And, it's much easier for them to do what I think they were designed to do, which is to take. So here's something I think that is important to know from the jump, that as women, we are blessed with intuition. And I believe that one of the reasons why we were blessed with intuition, just having this deep sense of knowing without having to say anything, without having to have concrete proof, you get that feeling. We were designed, everything has a yin and a yang, right? And we're so designed to complement each other or be opposites. We were designed with that because they were designed to lie. They're designed to lie and to take. So what tools are we given to be able to protect ourselves from that, to be able to recognize when they're in their lowest kind of basic form, which is to try to break down and to take? We got to have that. That's why we're wise. That's why we're able to build. And that's why they want to try to be with us, because there are benefits to being with us, to even just to be associated or connected to us. And the ones that are punks, the ones that don't build anything for themselves, they're envious. They're jealous of you because you do. So, this period of my life, I've been looking back, hindsight is 2020. I think foresight can be 2020 as well if you do the work. But typically it's hindsight. And for a lot of years for me, it was. And in this period of me being more than okay, really being content, belonging to myself, I've been doing a lot of looking back and seeing things that I just missed in the moment, which is also their design. They want you to miss all those things. They want you to be disconnected from your intuition. They need you to be, so that as they continue to siphon off of your emotions, your energy, your emotional labor, your physical labor, everything else, you're not conscious enough, and you're not really in your highest form of self. You're not really tapped into your personal kind of power and worth and all that stuff, so that they can keep taking from you, because it's something that they're not doing for themselves, which is why they're jealous of you doing it for yourself and doing it for other people. If you have children, the way that you do that for your children. So I'm going to go over everything that I can recall while I've got some time right now from people that I was with in the past that showed me, sometimes right in my face, with just little micro expressions, with little things, subtle hints of negging, that they were jealous of me. So we'll start with the very last relationship. I've got a video series called D is for Donkey on my YouTube channel. So go into those stories. You'll have a laugh. You'll have some insight. A lot of you, if you're on here, it's because you can relate to my experiences, or maybe you want to have some takeaways or learn from it. You'll get it there. So that particular relationship that I was in the very beginning, I remember when I moved across country and I found my house, and of course very excited about it. It was an upgrade for me in lots of ways, including my living situation. And the first couple of times I allowed him to come into my house, and at that time it was, when it's brand spanking new, I mean, just top to bottom, just amazing. For whatever reason, he would say little things about it that I didn't realize until later on. And he would make comparisons. He would never compare my house to his condo. And when I say condo, I'm really being kind and generous here. Uh, but he would never compare my house to that. He would bring up other women that he was dating. And I always thought that was odd, but I don't think I really took the time to process that and really break that down until after the relationship was over. And when I say after the relationship was over, you know that a lot of times we know it's over before it actually is. So toward the end of the relationship, before he left, when I knew I'm just over this shit, I'm over and done with this, that's when I started to process everything. And I'm like, that's why he did that. So he would bring up other women and talk about their homes. And I know one time he went as far as driving by, I guess she still lived close to him. And hell, maybe that was his subconscious trying to tell me he was still going to her house and still doing it to her. Because, they love to try to find subtle ways to throw other women in your face that they're involved with, because they enjoy that energy that they get when they're trying to get you jealous of them. And because it brings up an insecurity that will still tie you to them emotionally. So he drove by one time this woman's house that was close to his, and he, told me all about her and how, they used to be together. And it was a house that I guess he's going to consider was better than mine. And he told me that I think he said she was a doctor. And I thought that was always interesting that he would talk about my house, but then immediately talk about some other woman's house. And it was like, maybe he was trying to convince himself or try to convince me, or a little bit of both, that he was deserving of being in those spaces that he was in, the spaces that he hasn't earned for himself, but other women's spaces that, that we do the work to create for ourselves. That's more and better than what he provides for himself and his children. That's the revelation that I got after I was done with him and starting to really look at things for what they are instead of looking through being digmatized. And sidebar, what is it with these men who don't have a lot of shit going for themselves but some great sex? Of course they'll use it as a weapon because they can't offer you anything else but dick and dust. But oh, girls, it seems like the better the sex is, the more low they just are. But that's another conversation for another time. So that is one way that, looking back, he showed me that he was jealous of me, and he tried to find a way to make some comparisons, which were never his. I had another person in my life do that. My last husband, I remember when, with my help, we were able to acquire a beautiful new build house. And one of his best friends, God rest his soul, his nickname was E.T. And he owned I think that's so funny. It was E.T., like E.T. phone home. But he owned a barbecue place, and him and his wife had a beautiful home and some land and all that. And the first couple of times he brought me to E.T.'s place. Now, his place was a very humble little house. It wasn't, too bad, but it was very super humble and tiny. And what is it with these dudes that don't even fully furnish their damn home? I was much younger then, and just the signs were just like literally slapping me in the face, and I just didn't get it because of who I was at that time. So he would take me often to his best friend's home, and his best friend, I don't know why, maybe they grew up together, because his life and his home and everything else and his level of discipline was nothing like my ex-husband's. Like, my ex-husband sucked in every way, my God. And I wound up discovering that he was a very dangerous predator as well, which we're still in a legal battle to this day. Look at the video series Behind the Badge, and it tells that particular story. So he would say things when we went to ET's house like, yeah, this is how successful Black people live. And he said it in a way where it was almost kind of like trying to put me down and compare me to them. But again, these guys when they're jealous of you and they have terrible self-worth, they will project that shit onto you because they need you to be the same damn way. That way they can justify in their own twisted minds being with you and feel like they're on your level because they got to break you down to theirs. And I always thought that was a little weird. And I would say, why are you, who gives a fuck? Because this is not your house. This isn't our house. So who cares? This ain't your house. This is not yours, and you're showing it off like somehow it's yours. I guess maybe he felt it was his by association. So that's something else that they'll do. They'll compare things, lots of things. So another thing is they will make these little backhanded compliments or these snide remarks about things that you do. And it could be something so trivial. I was reading my journal, like the journal that I use, it'll show you like on this day, all the years past that you may have journaled. And it happened to be on this day, like let's say maybe 3 years prior, on the day that I was reading it sometime last week. And I remember, and I put something in my journal about how the last guy that I was with, he said something that I found really odd. And in that time, I was thinking like, this is weird. Now looking back, it was an insecurity. So my pantry is not even a really large one. It's not a walk-in, but it's still a pretty nice size in the current home that I'm in. And I believe I have children. I have 4 children and they have friends that come over, and there needs to be no justification in this. I buy in bulk. I love to shop at BJ's and get everything in bulk. For me, I think for anybody, it's just a sensible option to buy a lot of things in bulk, and it saves a lot of money. So my pantry and my fridge and my deep freezer, it's important for me to keep it full, like fully stocked. You guys know kids will snack all the damn time. Like, oh my God, like bottomless pits kids are. And again, I have 4. So I get everything in super abundance. I have an abundance mindset about everything. Not a hoarder, not at all. But I think it's important to have a lot. Having more than enough is better than having not enough. And for whatever reason, the very few times he would actually have his kids at his condo, I noticed he would never have enough food and stuff. And at least not in my opinion. Like your stuff, your cupboard is like sparse, excuse me. So when he would come over to my place and he would see how I keep everything stocked, he would make comments about that. He would go, I forgot what he would say. Like, oh, you buy all this stuff, but you don't even need it. Or you have so many groceries, but you still, like, you'll take them out. Or you have so much of this. And basically he was saying like there's no need for it. And I was thinking to myself, like, why are you counting my coinage? First of all, like, why do you care what's in my kitchen and my fridge? Because none of this is for you. Like, and when your kids come over here, which his kids wound up damn near being my kids, I'm feeding them too. Like, why don't you have this at your place? So when they'll show you by saying certain things that they are jealous of you and jealous of the way that you live your life. And that wound up being something that he pretty much used for him and his kids' benefits later on. And maybe the process of saying things to try to break me down about it would distract me from the fact that, and it did for a while, this is something that I provide that he's jealous of because he doesn't. And maybe it was a way for him to justify in his mind, well, she has too much of it, so it doesn't matter if I take it anyway because she has too much of it. So, if I'm eating here too, no big deal. I don't have to contribute. She has too much. One other thing that I noticed, and this was a pattern with several of my exes, and I'm so grateful and proud of myself for growth. And when I'm talking about these things, this is who I was then. It's not who I am now. I noticed that they would compliment me a lot in the beginning. Like, they would almost kind of worship me. But as soon as we got intimately close, and I mean like emotionally intimately close, all of that would stop. And I don't just have average beauty, or at least what the beauty standard of around me or what this country is. I know that I have above average beauty, and I'm not saying it to boast. I know that I do. And I've been able to use that to be able to make a decent amount of money for me and my children as well, being in front of the camera. And typically being in front of the camera, you have to be attractive. Being on stage and being sought after for that, you have to be attractive. And I take pride in my appearance, me and my children, which is another thing that attracts these guys to you, because they see how meticulous that you are about your upkeep and your care, although they don't desire to do it. And that's something else that would happen. So it's like they look at you and they go, oh man, that's the next one I need to break down. And that's what a lot of them tried to do. And some of them were successful for a moment, obviously not successful forever because got rid of all them motherfuckers. But there was a pattern of them, once they felt comfortable with me, not complimenting me anymore. Like, no matter what. Date nights, I noticed with the last one in particular, it was by that time it was glaring in my face. And I'm like, okay, I've seen all this shit before. So I am not putting up with this like I did with the last one. I'm out. Once I started seeing the tide change a couple years in, and when they get more comfortable, who they are just comes all the way out. So when that did, I'm like, all right, deuces, motherfucker, deuces. So I would notice that date night, I'm putting on the heels, I'm getting dressed up everywhere we go, or if we do a gig together or something, other people are telling me, they're inboxing me, or they're saying it when they walk by, man, you look great. Just all that. Before we walked out the house, he would look at me and have this look of apathy. And I would compliment him if I felt like, this is a really nice, I like how you put this together. I felt that, his face was attractive. At one time, his body was like, banging, and then he really let himself go. But he would never compliment me. Like, all that stuff stopped. In the beginning, when he was trying to acquire me, like, he would sit there and stare at my face and just be like, man, you're so beautiful. Your face is so beautiful, and this and that, and compliment, my body. But then when we got together, all of that stopped. And I know that I still had it going on, and he did too. And looking back, that was something else that he needed to break down so that I don't feel as confident anymore. Because if I still felt that way, and if he was still building me up, then there's something in you when you have enough of your own self-worth and confidence, of course, that you're going to notice everything, and you're not going to take anything. And so the compliments stop. And the negging begins, making little comments about your body and your imperfections here and there. That is what he changed the compliments to. Talking about my weight gain. And my God, I used to think I was fat the last couple of years with that fool, because I went from like 125 to 130, 140, 150. That is not fat at all. Like, I wear a size medium, and he really had me believing that I was so like obese for a time, until I snapped out of that. So something else that they will do is refuse to participate in or pub anything that you're doing, or even really congratulate you. That was a pattern with people in the past. You're complimenting and you're following other people, and you're even sharing other stuff, and you're sharing your work, but never sharing mine. All of any product, any book, any concert, like literally refusing to share any of that stuff, and also not even like complimenting you online or bothering to watch anything that has to do with your professional and personal ambition. They will completely just disregard it, because again, they need you to be insecure about that. They need you to fail, because if you fail, then you're still on their level. They don't have to be afraid of you moving on and leaving them behind. So that was something else that looking back, I noticed happened with several of the relationships that I was in. And I saw that some of that growing up as well with my parents, unfortunately. I'm trying to think if there are any other signs. I think those are the main ones. Them, refusing to compliment you, them comparing you to other people, but not really themselves, them disregarding or belittling your ambitions, not openly supporting it in any way. Another thing that they will do when they are jealous of you, or they just don't really want you like that, but they want what you can provide for them, is they will refuse to love you out loud. They're not going to make posts about you. They're going to bring you around certain people, but not everybody. when men love their toys and they love their certain possessions and things that they're really invested in and things that they really are happy about, that they really earned, they're going to show it off. They're going to find ways to sneak it into all their social media and things like that. If they're not doing that with you, then you got to question, why are they with me? They're with me to take. That's it. They're not with me to give. And a lot of times too, they're taking something from you that they refuse to, or they're incapable of, or they're too lazy or whatever to provide for themselves. And when that happens, also got to break you down because they're jealous of that. So these are a couple of things that were on my mind this morning that I wanted to record, share with you. Let me know in the comments the habits, the behaviors that you notice with men that you used to be with, or maybe someone that you're with now, that will help you to change the tide of your relationships, and that show you that, okay, this guy is jealous of me. He's only here to take. I would love to keep the conversation going. Having these conversations helps to strengthen your own resolve, and it also helps to show these things to the next woman who may be struggling with accepting some things, who may be struggling with being able to interpret some behaviors and some things being said to her. And that can really help save a lot of futures. So with that being said, have an amazing day. And as always, thank you for tuning in. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And that's it. Bye-bye.